Hello and welcome to Women in Mobility. In this new episode, we have a very renowned name in the auto retail space. She is not just leading India's largest automobile dealership, but also leading an ad agency. She is a digital savvy and an entertainment enthusiast. We have Ms. Garima Misra from Landmark. She will be talking about her 20-year-long journey in auto retail space and would share her experience, learnings for young women leaders. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dipanshu. Thank you so much for having me here. I think it's a pleasure.
So, first of all, I would like to understand your, and want to know about your in early days when you were in college, when you were doing your graduation and post-graduation. What was your vision that time about your career and what you wanted to really do?
Okay. So, I think you're taking me back the memory lane, beautiful good old days. I still remember, I was in class 12 and we were just finishing our boards, and I was walking with my friends, and there were some kids who were talking about shareholding and shares and this and that, and I said, no, I am going to have a company which is going to have its own shares. I'm not going to invest in anybody's shares. So I don't know, it was just a very offhanded thing then. But so that was I've always been wanting to be an entrepreneur. Always business was prime in my mind. I did my schooling from Modern School Barakhamba, and then I went to Shri Ram College of Commerce. And during early days, right after college, I used to go to my office, my dad's office, which was a travel agency then, and I started working there at an early age of 17, yes.
So during that time, when did you thought about jumping into this space of automobile dealership? Because if I can really recall it was somewhere around 98, 99. That time Indian auto industry was not grown so much, and things were not really as glamorous as it today. So what were your thoughts, and why did you join auto retail industry?
Dipanshu, first, I don't understand that when it comes to women, why people want to always associate them with glamour. I mean, there is more to life than glamour. Yeah, there is an exact amount of brain, that the exact amount of gray cells that women also have, just like men. So when it's men, it's never about glamour, but when it's about women, it's about glamour. So no, it was nothing. I mean, glamour was not even on, that I didn't even think like that. Yeah, because maybe travel, one tends to think glamour and all. No, that was not how I thought at all. I have been brought up like a son. I used to, from early days, I was a national level basketball player. And I used to, my dad was a little protective about me, but my mother used to always push me to go use the DTC buses and go to school early in the morning. So I have been a toughie from the very beginning. So glamour never really occurred to me per se. But yes, as far as the automobile space is concerned, it's luck by chance, I would say. Moved to Ahmedabad in 1998. My husband's business took us there, and I was somehow a very restless soul. I had to always do something. I couldn't sit at home, and that's when there was an opportunity. Honda was looking for a dealer in Ahmedabad, and that's where an ad appeared in the papers, and I applied for it, and really liked the vibe which the promoters that time, Sanjay and Milan, gave, and they were both going to be based out of Bombay. So it automatically meant that if I was heading the show, then I was going to have a very good autonomous run there. And that's how I selected this, and we became one of the best Honda dealerships in the country. Today also we are number 2 for Honda All India, and we started with Honda. We grew with Honda for 10 years. Then 2008 is when Volkswagen was setting step in India, and Sanjay and Milan were a little apprehensive because at that time having one brand was more like marriage to that brand, and toying the idea also of having a partnership with competition, which then Volkswagen was going to be, was something which could deter a few. But I was very persistent, and I requested Sanjay that let's do this, and I wanted to invest in the business at that time, and that's when I invested in the business and became a shareholder with the group Landmark.
Okay, okay, very nice. So when you decided to join, and on your decision, what was your reaction of your husband, one, your parents, and your family and friends? Because I get it that you are being a toughie and have been into on the go and wanted to do something of your own. But what was the reaction of your family, friends, and relatives?
So husband was very happy. As long as he had me off his hair, he was happy. So no problem with him. But as far as my father always wanted me to continue working with him. But my mother always thought that I should go out of the umbrella of my father and I should be on my own and work on my own. So I took that. I took that chance. I said, let me do this. Let me try this. And I've always been very confident, overconfident at times. But I've always wanted to do new things. I've never been scared of doing new things. I've never been apprehensive. In fact, that gives me the high. When I do new things, that gives me a challenge. That gives me a high, and I just jumped into it. Didn't think so much, really. A lot of people, even today, it's really funny, that when people ask me what do I do, and I tell them that we have dealerships. So the first question that they ask me is, is that with your husband, or is that with your father, or is that with your brother? I said, no, it's not. It's a partnership with another professional, and that's about it. Why does a woman have to necessarily do what her father did, or her husband does, or her brother does? I fail to understand that.
So, understanding, that you come from a business family and you have different set of business, travel, constructions, so, and your father was a businessman since start, so what was the piece of advice he gave it to you, when you started, what were the learnings initially, and when you started, in first 6 months, what were your first footsteps, what did you do?
So, for me, this always stays with me, and this is what I always even tell now parents whose children are now growing up. My father, for some reason, though he was a very protective man, he was very protective about me. But when it came to business, I remember that he used to have this long rectangular office, and his cabin used to be like right at the end, right, the managing director's cabin, it used to say. And when I started working at the age of 17, as I told you, at that time, he told me that the distance may look very short, but it's going to be a journey till you reach that cabin. So he made me start as a receptionist. He made me use those back then used to have those EPBX phones where you had to transfer calls and all. So to take customer inquiries, I used to do all of that. Then he made me move on to the ticketing counter, where he made me learn the ticketing part of it, made me do a course, and so on and so forth. So it took me 2 years before I said, okay, now I want to apply for an IATA, because my father was a GSA for Kuwait Airways, and that meant that we largely did only business for Kuwait Airways, and I said, let's start doing other airlines as well. So I applied for the IATA, and and we started doing that, and that's how I started looking at business differently. I activated the Bombay office for my father, which was lying empty and vacant for some time. So that's how it was. So my father always told me to be grounded. You have to work your way to success. There are no shortcuts. That's the learning that I got from my father, and that's what stayed with me even today.
So, if you talk about your initial years in auto retail space, because automobile business is altogether a very different business, selling a car or a vehicle is altogether different. So, what were the things as a promoter they told you to do? And one, second, how did you drive those learnings to actually stood right up front in the dealership business?
So Honda was a great learning experience. Honda as a company really taught us how to work from ground. So how to handle from inquiries and inquiry management to a very, very process-oriented company. I always ask people that is sales a science or an art? And a lot of people get confused on that answer. But Honda taught us that sales is a mix of science and art. The process part of it is complete science. All the ratios that you talk about, it's a science. And it's only the final conversion with the customer that becomes an art. But the process, the journey is very scientific in nature, and Honda taught me all of that. It was really, I think that learning has stayed with me. How you work on basics in the automobile field, how you work on inquiries in the automobile field, how do you talk to customers, how do you do their regular follow-ups, how you convince them. I think the whole plethora of it.
And when did you decided to start an ad agency, and how do you manage both of your businesses, and because you're leading both of the businesses, one is the managing director and one is the founder, how do you do that?
I have a very hands-off management style, which means that I like to lead from behind. I have always believed in having great teams, very, very independent teams. What I got in life, autonomy at the age of 25 to run my own business, I want to give that to my people as well. And trust you me, it's worked for me. It's these people who have led us to grow leaps and bounds. Today we work out of 8 states, and these people, it is the confidence on these people that has helped us grow without batting an eyelid. It's been wonderful. Same way. So when we grew from one brand to 5 brands, having an ad agency was really not something that was difficult. So honestly, a lot of captive business, because we handle 5 brands, lot of advertising budgets, and that's when we thought that let's have an INS, let's have an in-house advertising agency, and that's how we thought of this idea. Marketing is a good, it's the base for our business, right? And that's when we thought that let's do this ourselves, let's do this in-house, let's do it professionally. And that's how this idea germinated, and we started this advertising agency, yes.
On day-to-day basis, what makes you going? What is the inspiration that drives you on daily basis to improve, to work, to excel? What is that? How do you drive inspiration, and what are those things? That these are smaller things, I know, but if you could just throw some light on that.
So I am quite a workaholic. I like to work. It gives me the high. So as I told you earlier also, that continuous working, continuous striving is my high. And so basically, the whole with the team, my entire team, the people that we have, they are our pillars, and working with them and motivating them and seeing them achieve and spearhead is something that really, really makes me feel proud. I would want to share this. One of my CEOs, when I met her, she could not drive, and today she drives a brand for me. So this is my high. This is what really, really makes me feel proud. I've had people who joined as sales consultants, and today they are general managers and VPs in the company. That's my high. To see their success, to see them blossom is really my high, honestly.
Coming back, can you draw some instances, where, there was a decision that you took. It was, sometimes it would have been a runaway success. Sometimes it would have been, not so well, or done a mistake. Could you give 2 examples on those sides? And
Group Landmark was offered the Kia and the MG dealership, so not taking them today, a lot of people can say that what a mistake we made at that time. But so we had our own reasons, but we didn't pursue that. So it could be. Also, I think having just a one-off. So we've realized that we are into premium play. B, we like to work in expanse. So anything small is something that will not keep our interest for very long. And that's why now we don't put our hands into something which is a one-off dealership, but that we made that mistake with Nissan. And yeah, that was a mistake that we made, and then we had to shut it down sometime. So yes, that was a mistake. All the good decisions, well, that's what has brought us here. So I think the first big decision was to really start with the Volkswagen dealership. That gave us a lot of confidence. And after that, the Mercedes opportunity came across. In fact, the Mercedes dealer in Ahmedabad was shutting down. That's where we said that let's take over, and that's how it was. And I think one of the biggest, I would say, the change in the company was when TPG, which is one of the largest PE funds in the world, invested in the group. And having a foreign investor was really, really unheard of in this particular segment of the industry. And I mean, so that was something that really, really helped us grow leaps and bounds in no time at all.
You being a leader of such a large dealership, which caters to across, cutting across all the major brands and also commercial vehicle. What is your idea behind future mobility? How do you see that? What is your vision?
See, mobility to me, one is type and one is ownership. I think there's a huge amount of change that's happening, and to me it's happening faster than we envisaged, right? So when I talk about type, we are now talking about a lot of EVs, we're talking about hybrids, we're talking about alternate fuels, and I think it's all becoming big, especially with the petrol diesel prices skyrocketing. I think it's really paving the way for a faster change than anyone thought of maybe 2 years back. So I think there is a huge increase in inquiries for electric vehicles. I mean, even today when people come to buy IC vehicles, they do ask us that when is your EV coming in and what are your thoughts on EV. So it's going to be the way. I think it's going to be much faster than we all thought. We were all talking about 2030s and all. I think it's going to happen, the change is going to happen much faster. And India is a Jugadu country. So saying that where is the infrastructure, doesn't fit India. I mean, in India, anything can be created overnight if one wants to. So there's so many companies that have come up in only infrastructure setting up of batteries that it's not funny. I'm also part of FADA, and I had the Delhi chapter for FADA, and I'm in constant conversation with the government, and even their thought on electric is so big. I mean, the kind of things that they are doing, the kind of setups that they are doing, that the way they are helping dealers to even put up, charging stations and all, it's not funny. I really don't see this as a challenge. I think it's going to come on very soon. So that's on the type of vehicles. When I talk about ownership, the ownership style is also changing. So I think there is a lot of talk now on subscription, lease, hire, self-drive rentals. All these things are coming up. When you talk to the new age kids, when I talk to my children and their friends, they don't think owning a vehicle is that great a thing. They'd rather, depending on the move, hire a car and use a car. So if they want to go for a holiday with friends, they'll hire a 7-seater. When they want to do an evening out, they'll hire, probably a nice sedan. So things like that. So things are really changing. These kids are, they have an amazing mindset, which is very different than how we thought. I'm saying that, and it's not only in automobiles. Look at housing. I think the new age generation is possibly thinking out of the box and saying that I don't want to get fixated with buying one house. Let me rent it out. Let me move. Let me be mobile. Why should I buy a house and get fixated to a city? So I think that's what's happening with vehicles also, and I think that change, if the government can work better on the taxation and the GST and so on and so forth. I think this is something that can thrive and grow in a big way. So when we look at inquiries, things have started changing. You look at the lease penetration; it's going up. So I really feel that the ownership style is also going to take a change in times to come.
And how do you see the future of automobile dealership business as? Because things are digitizing. Brands are talking about digital showrooms, virtual drives. How do you see that?
So maybe you can call me a little rudimentary, but I still feel that there's going to be a phygital. This is always going to remain a phygital space. I mean, today automobile is your second most important buy after the house, and so you want to inquire. You don't want to waste your time inquiring by going to dealerships. So you inquire. So 70-80% of the knowledge is already received digitally. So you inquire online. You get all the information online. You get the brochure. But before you make the final pick, you go and make a payment. That's when you want to go and check your car. So even today, I mean, I'm constantly monitoring this because this is something of great interest to me. That do we have car sales without test drives? So does a customer buy a car without a test drive? No, not even today, not even during COVID. Whatever car sales happened, the customer did want to take a test drive before making that final payment. So, COVID has changed a lot of things, but this aspect still remains the same. So they delayed the decision if need be, but they wanted to take a test drive before they made that payment or made that final decision. So to me, this will remain phygital. Any dealership business which thinks that can grow and survive without having an online presence is a fallacy. You have to have a digital presence. You have to be available to your customers online when they're searching, when in that initial stage of inquiry, and you have to have decent setups where when the customer comes, so the touch and feel factor is also taken care of.
Being a woman leader, and you have been leading thousands of people right now, and how are you empowering women's professionals in your company? One, and what are the message do you want to give to young women entrepreneurs who want to join this space or maybe some other space? What should be the foundation?
Firstly, as I always say, that this is something that I feel. I think it's women who limit themselves. I don't think that there is any time where, I mean, today as an employer, I'm saying this, that I would not want to take a woman employee. I would love to take a woman employee, but women, they have to break their shackles themselves. Even I would say certain shackles, early age shackles when a child is born. Like I always say this, that unfortunately in India, when a girl is born, she's given dolls and kitchen sets to play with, and when a boy is born, then that time is given planes and cars to play with. Can we change that? When a child is born, it's not a girl or a boy, it's a child. The child does not know. You give that child a car, the child will play with the car. You give that child a kitchen set, the child will play with the kitchen set. And that's where those little things come in, right? So, I mean, I don't know why people think that automobile is a very, very, needs a lot of strength, which I don't think. It's just like any other business. It's like, if you're selling a car, if you're selling a house, if you're selling anything, it's just the same thing. I really don't see why people should not opt for automobiles. It's a beautiful industry, really hungry for having a bit more gender equality. So it's my plea to women out there that come join this industry. It's a beautiful industry, and it's, as Dipanshu said, the glamour, I don't know whether there's glamour quotient or not, but yes, there's a lot of work satisfaction here. And for my people, as I told you, that I've had women who did not know how to drive, and today they're sitting behind the driving seat of my business. And same way, I've had other women, who were working as girls and who got married and who had babies, and I said that doesn't matter. If you want to work, and if your family understands the importance of your working as much as it does as of your husband's, then you will be able to work around a way. And I have these people who are today doing phenomenally well. So someone who started as an unmarried girl, got married, had children and continues to work. That is, I think, wonderful, and I'm really happy that I have women like this, and this is what I take my pride in, and I would love to have, my dictum to my HR is that let us just strive towards having at least 25% of women employees in the organization. We are not there right now, but that's an ambition.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining me today. Thanks.
Thank you.